Jonathan is in serious trouble with Benny. If she has her way, she will beat up the father like a child. I mean, who quits his job simply because his boss is a lady? I don't understand. Jonathan is a poor man, yet he has so much pride. A job that they are willing to pay you 800,000 naira. You decided to quit the job because you feel that your boss is a woman. Yet you were carrying blocks, mixing cement. You didn't even consider that people are looking at you. What if it was a lady that owned the house you were working for? I don't understand how this young man called Jonathan thinks. No wonder Debbie was not even concerned at all. She was so confident that Jonathan is not going to do that job. According to her, Jonathan has a way of messing up with everything that he has. And this is a complete proof. After all the jubilation that at least Jonathan will have money to be able to support the family and take care of the daughter Benny. Look at what Jonathan came back home with. Even Emeka was very surprised on how fast Jonathan ended up losing that job. In fact, we give it to Debbie. She is the goddess indeed, because her predictions are very sure on Jonathan. At this point, one would think that Jonathan is under a spell, because with the look of things now, it is not ordinary. Jonathan always mess up with everything that he has. Even Clara herself is very surprised at what Jonathan is doing. She's surprised. The one good thing that would have happened to Jonathan since Clara left is Kenneth. Kenneth is always supporting Jonathan. But the unfortunate thing is that Emeka is always there to convince Jonathan that every decision that he's making is right. Because all he wants to happen to Jonathan is destruction. But Jonathan is not even doing himself any good. He's always thinking that Kenneth is against him, not knowing that behind your back, Emeka is already planning on how you are going to lose your car so that you will end up trekking on the street every single day. When Clara came to meet up with Hans to actually apologize to Hans about what happened, before now, Hans discovered that Benny is not even the daughter of Clara. So if Clara is not the mother of Benny, who is the mother of Benny? Because Hans himself is very shocked to hear that after all this protection, because the way Clara acts, you will never ever tell that she's not the mother of Benny. That is how wonderful some women can be. Unlike some people that will, immediately start maltreating the child as long as they are not the one that gave birth to the child. Jonathan came back home, was very angry, yelling at everybody around. And when they came out to ask, Teresa asked Jonathan, what is the issue? What is the problem? Why are you yelling? I can hear your voice from, the room. What is happening? Jonathan was now explaining that look at these stupid people. He went to the office to resume work today as the manager. That was what he applied for. And they offered to pay him 800,000 naira to be the manager in that place. But on reaching there, they told him that he's going to be a personal assistant to somebody. Now he decided to accept it. Then he now discovered that he's going to be a personal assistant to a lady carrying her bag. So he got upset and left the place. I don't understand. Jonathan, oh my God. Jonathan, wait. What is really wrong with this guy? I think that Jonathan is really under a spell. The daughter was so upset. Dad, wait a minute. You left your job because your boss is a woman. But you were comfortable carrying blocks, mixing cement to serve somebody, just to put food on your table. And now you have a white-collar job that they are going to pay you 800,000 naira. You have the opportunity to wear suits to the office, and yet you left the job because your boss is a woman. Are you okay? Is something wrong with you? Benny thinks that the father is crazy. Are you even my dad? Are you sure you are my dad? Because I don't know how I ended up being your daughter. You can imagine how furious Benny was. The way she spoke to the father is enough to give Jonathan sense if he's ready to change. But Big Joe, the pride and everything is really killing Jonathan. How can you be this poor and yet you have so much pride? You can imagine how the daughter went overboard talking to the dad, trying to send some messages into his head. But yet, he feels that the daughter is not now overstepping her boundaries. He feels that the daughter is insulting him and that is going to put the daughter in her place because she's growing wings. That is one thing I've come to discover about Jonathan. He never likes any form of advice. He doesn't care. When the advice is good, he will never take it. Jonathan will always want to do what he wants to do. And that is crazy. because this is what brings a downfall of a man. He was very angry and decided to run upstairs. Benny was now speaking to Mrs. Teresa. You see, the kind of person that you think that my mother will come back to beg. Is this the man? Somebody who can just quit his job because his boss is a lady? Is this who you think my mother will come back to beg? It is just so unfortunate. Benny became so upset that she immediately ran to the mother to explain everything to the mother as well, telling the mother, you know what, dad just quit his job because they gave him a personal assistance job to a lady. Can you imagine? He left the job. But Clara was so shocked and surprised at this point. Which job are you even talking about? Tell me, which job? And Benny went ahead to tell the mother that the job that the father just got now, the father quit the job. This is crazy. And Clara was so shocked at this point. She was thinking that this young man is under his spell. And whoever did this to Jonathan, that decided to put Jonathan under his spell, should please release Jonathan so that he can start acting like a man. He's not acting like a human being at all, because everyone around him sees that something is wrong with him. But when it comes to Emeka, Emeka keeps supporting Jonathan. So Jonathan does not have sense to ask himself some questions. Why is every other person apart from Emeka saying that I'm doing the wrong thing? Yet he chooses to listen to Emeka and follow his instruction as if he's a fool, or as if he's indebted to Emeka to make sure that he follows through with whatever Emeka suggests to him. That is very crazy. Even Kenneth is very, very shocked. He's angry at the same time. He was yelling at Jonathan. What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm not understanding this thing that I'm hearing right now, that you left your job. You left your job because your boss is a woman. You cannot carry a lady's bag. Jonathan is not serious. According to him, he can never do that. He's the big Joe. He's the big Joe. Yet you don't have food to eat. You keep on begging the same Kenneth to borrow you money that you will never pay back. Yet you will never listen to him. And Jonathan says over his dead body, he cannot do that to a lady. He cannot be a personal assistant. He's the big Joe. And immediately you know exactly what is going to happen. Emeka will always support Jonathan regardless. Because from the onset, he was shocked that Jonathan got a job. And because he does not want Jonathan to do that job, getting the information that Jonathan has just resigned from the job makes him so happy. Because this is what he wants to happen to Jonathan. And Kenneth was like, I don't blame you. In fact, I'm not going to give you the opportunity, to enjoy yourself. I'm not going to banter words with you because you are not worth it. My problem is Jonathan. What is really wrong with you? At least, even if you don't want to do this job for yourself, Jonathan, I don't understand. Why don't you at least think about your daughter? At least you would have thought about your daughter. At least you need to take care of your daughter and your home. Even if you don't want to do it for yourself. But I think on the other hand, Jonathan is so relaxed because Clara is there, to provide. Clara is always sending food to the house because of her daughter. And Jonathan is using opportunity to eat from that same food. That is why he's still being proud. Tell me why you will want to cut ties with Kenneth that is supporting you to be with Emeka that only wants your downfall. I just wish that Jonathan's eyes will be open to see beyond, friendship from this Emeka. If only Jonathan's eyes will be open to see that Emeka is not a good person, I'll be so happy, because it's just getting too much. It's too much. Jonathan is literally frustrating not only himself, he's frustrating the people that love him, that care about him. Everyone around him is frustrated, except for Emeka that just want to keep Jonathan on the ground. Because why? Emeka himself has nothing to his name. He's just a walking corpse. And so he wants to keep Jonathan in that same position. Coming back to the house, the daughter does not even want to see the father because she's so upset that the father loses this wonderful opportunity again. An opportunity that would actually make them to bounce back again. They were already happy. Jonathan was like, Benny, why are you looking at me like that? Is something wrong with you? Why are you looking at me like that? I am your dad. What is going on here? But right now, if Benny decides to release what is in her mind right now, the father will eventually beat her up because she's so upset. How did she end up having a dad like this? She was even regretting having him as a dad. But Jonathan will not understand. He's just shameless. he only have ego, yet nothing to show for. But Emeka came down to congratulate Debbie, because Debbie was the one that said, you know what, don't worry yourself, Jonathan is not going to do that job. And Emeka was surprised that everything happened exactly the way, Debbie said it. He was surprised and he started raining praises on Debbie. You are the goddess, you are the devil himself and all that. These two always have a way of connecting very well. And that is why I keep asking this question again. Does Emeka and Debbie have something in the past? Could that be that they were once lovers that eventually got separated? Because we still don't know the father of Debbie's child. It could be that Emeka is the father of that child. You never can tell. And Debbie was very excited that at least they have taken one down. Right now, they still have to sabotage Clara's company, that restaurant. They have to sabotage that restaurant. Because now that Jonathan is out, he does not have a job. He is so upset. So if they push Jonathan, Jonathan is going to use that opportunity to sabotage that restaurant so that Clara will also be rendered useless. Clara will also become a beggar. But the little do they know that Hans is already waiting to receive Clara. If anything happens to Clara today, Hans, whether he's angry or not, because of the love he has for Clara, is going to still pick up Clara and clean her up again. It is only Jonathan that will suffer for all of this. But then Emeka is still making plans to sell that car that Jonathan has. He wants Jonathan to lose that car because according to him, Jonathan beat him up because he has a car. If he does not have that car again to at least drive around town and he begins to trek everywhere, Jonathan will mellow down and beg. That is what he wants now. But the question is, how is Emeka going to, go about all these plans to take away Jonathan's car away from him? The thing is, these two people, once they sit down to plan something, it has a way of coming to pass. And that is one thing that is very scary about these two people. Because Jonathan is definitely going to lose that car eventually. Emeka went to fulfill, his plans to finally rubbish Jonathan. Jonathan opened the door, and when Emeka stepped in, he was so surprised. What are you doing in my house right now? And according to Emeka, it is very urgent. And I know that the urgency in this whole thing is what he wants to use as a yardstick to actually convince Jonathan to sell that car, or perhaps borrow that car to his friend. And then the rest will be a history. But we'll get to find out if Jonathan will be stupid enough to release that car to Emeka on the next episode. Please like the video if you have not liked the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. I will bring the next episode as soon as it drops. But for now, take care.